The last stop. I don't remember getting on the bus. I don't even remember which stop I was at before boarding. All I know is that I was there, sitting by the window, watching the city lights blur past as the vehicle rumbled through the night. It was late. Much later than I usually stayed out. The streets outside were empty, the buildings shadowed and lifeless. I must have dozed off at some point because when I looked around I barely recognized the route anymore. Something felt wrong. The bus was still moving, but the surroundings had changed. The city had disappeared, replaced by long stretches of darkness. No streetlights, no other cars, just an endless road leading into nothingness. I tried to shake off the drowsiness, thinking I had simply missed my stop. But when I pressed the button to request a stop, nothing happened. The bus kept going. I looked around at the other passengers. At first they seemed normal, silent, distant, staring blankly ahead. But as I watched them closer, a chill crawled up my spine. Their faces were off, features slightly distorted, too smooth or too sharp, eyes too dark or too light. It was as if they were people only in shape, but something else entirely beneath the skin. The driver didn't acknowledge me when I walked up to him. "Hey, excuse me. Where is this bus going?" He didn't respond. His hands gripped the wheel so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His head didn't turn. His eyes locked on the road ahead. The dashboard was flickering, the speedometer needle twitching wildly. I turned back, gripping the nearest seat to steady myself. That's when I saw it. A new passenger had boarded. But the bus hadn't stopped. The thing sat near the back, shrouded in a heavy, tattered coat. Its head was bowed, but I could see glimpses of its face beneath the hood, pale, stretched too thin, with hollow black pits where eyes should have been. My stomach twisted. The air around it seemed to warp, like heat shimmering off pavement. I moved back to my seat, forcing myself to look away. Maybe I was dreaming. Maybe I had fallen asleep, and this was just a bizarre nightmare. Then the next one got on. And the next. One by one they appeared, filling the seats with their unnatural stillness. They weren't people. They were something else. Their bodies twitched in small, unnatural motions, jolts and spasms that seemed disconnected from their limbs. Their heads snapped toward me in unison, as if sensing my thoughts. Panic clawed at my throat. I rushed to the doors, pounding on them. "Stop the bus! Let me out!" No response. The driver didn't move. The passengers only stared. Outside the windows, the darkness thickened. It wasn't just night anymore. It was something deeper, something endless. I couldn't see the road, couldn't see anything except swirling blackness beyond the glass. A pressure built in my ears, a low hum vibrating through the bus. The lights flickered, the metal groaning as if the entire vehicle was being stretched, pulled somewhere it didn't belong. Then I saw the sign at the front of the bus. "Final stop, hell." My breath hitched. My mind raced. Whoa. No, this wasn't happening. I stumbled backward, gripping the seat as the bus began to shake violently. The figures around me twitched and jerked, their faces peeling back to reveal something grotesque beneath. Twisted flesh, hollow voids, mouths that gaped open in silent screams. The floor beneath me felt like it was melting, turning into something soft and writhing. My own reflection in the window warped, my eyes blackening, my skin graying. I wasn't supposed to be here. I didn't belong here. Then it hit me. A memory, hazy but unmistakable. The sound of screeching tires, the flash of headlights, the sharp impact of metal against flesh. I had been in an accident. I had died. This wasn't a nightmare. This wasn't a bus. This was the journey to my final destination. I turned to the driver one last time. He was looking at me now, his face finally visible beneath his cap, empty eye sockets, a skeletal grin stretching wider than humanly possible. "Next stop," he rasped, his voice an echo of countless souls before me. "Welcome home." The doors creaked open. I turned back, desperate, looking at the other passengers. Some still had human features, but others were beyond recognition, twisted and deformed. Some had been here for a long time. I could feel it. A woman with hollow eyes whispered something in a language I didn't understand. A man covered in deep gashes rocked back and forth, humming an eerie tune. Another passenger, looking almost normal, gripped my arm and shook his head, tears streaming down his face. "Don't step off," he muttered. "Not yet. Not yet." The floor beneath us trembled. The air turned thick, suffocating. The creatures stirred, some stepping off into the consuming blackness beyond the doors, vanishing into the void. Their whispers lingered long after they were gone. I didn't want to leave the bus. I didn't want to face what was outside. The driver turned to me again, his grin never faltering. "It's time." I clutched the seat, shaking my head. No. The bus jerked violently, and suddenly I was being pulled. An unseen force wrapped around my limbs, dragging me forward toward the gaping doors. I fought it, but it was stronger. The moment my foot crossed the threshold, I felt it, an unbearable searing heat, a weight crushing my soul. And then, I was gone.